Yeah, it's SEC week, and we've been really looking forward to this all year long. We've always said it's a marathon, not a sprint, but now here we are and can see the finish line, and there's a lot of excitement around that. Overall, we're just ready to get down to New Orleans and have the opportunity to compete for a championship. I think this team is ready, they're dialed in, they're connected, they're peaking at the right time, and we're just looking forward to giving it the best we've got.
You talk about this being a marathon and not a sprint, and they're peaking at the right time. So do you feel like, or how much gas do you feel like this team still has in the tank and that they've prepared their bodies for this moment for postseason?
Yeah, I think depth is a crucial ingredient to any championship team, and we've talked about that week in and week out, that whoever that kind of number 7, number 8, number 9, number 10 is critical, and those 4 are not always the same people. We've seen that kind of rotate in and out of who's in the lineup and who's pushing for those spots, and I think overall how they work together and how they handle those different roles is really important in the overall picture. I think this team has handled that well, and that's a tribute to the culture they've created. I think the seniors, the upperclassmen have played a big part in that and wanting to make sure the culture could handle hard moments. It was something that we struggled with a year ago, and they were really committed to making sure that was a priority this year. And so they take a lot of pride in that this team, they handle the hard moments well. And so want to take that culture, that belief, and put that into practice, put that into play.
Is this a time of year where you feel like at all that, or how often as a coach do you kind of lean on your experience as a gymnast, like when you were at SECs, and bring that up with the team, or is it more you're kind of just focused on what they're doing?
You know, I like to bring stories into the picture. I think that stories provide just additional context and layers and personality to what they might be going through. I've also brought in some alum from the past to be able to share their stories, and I think there's value in that, but at the same time, no team is the same, no person is the same, and so while the stories, the experiences might look similar from year to year, each person is just so different. But it is just really special, I think, knowing that I've been able to be in their shoes before. I think it helps my connection with our athletes. I think it's provided just good groundwork for those conversations to take place.
You've already talked about this a little bit, but how do you feel like the experiences of the season, the times where they've had to handle hard, whether it's in the quad meets or even ending the season at Oklahoma, has prepared this team for the postseason?
I think the hard moments have prepared us incredibly well. Growth doesn't happen in the easy moments. It happens in the uncomfortable moments. And so we have continued to lean into that in those challenging times, those challenging meets, to say, like, this is part of the bigger picture, and how you respond and how you handle these types of situations are going to ultimately drive this team in one direction or another, but you get to choose which direction that is. And I'm proud of them for, in every high and in every low, they've really looked at that in the face and decided that they wanted to move forward and build from those experiences. And I think that's brought us to this point where they have a lot of confidence in how they can respond to any situation that gets thrown in them. And that's something that we've worked really hard to create. And I think they're at that point where they've really mastered that and are going to use that to their advantage.
This is just kind of a general gymnastics question. As someone who has experience in judging, just kind of with scoring all around college gymnastics this year, do you think that there are changes that need to be made or will be made in scoring and judging, or do you think we're just kind of in one of those upswells right now where scores are just going to kind of be higher across the country?
Every 2 years, we have the opportunity to adjust some of our rules, and so that will definitely be a conversation that takes place this year as our coaches all gather in the same room and talk through what is in the best interest of our sport. So I can definitely assure you and everybody that there will be a lot of conversation that goes on around that subject.
So this team is pretty accustomed to being in the evening session. Does that, talk to me a little bit, does that matter at all per se? Like being in the evening versus the afternoon? Afternoon, there's really no pressure walking in and just do us, whereas evening you kind of know where you need to finish per se.
I think there's always an advantage to be able to compete in the final moments, knowing what it's going to take to win a championship. So while there is every opportunity to win from a morning session or an afternoon session, it's just like years ago when we had a bye rotation in our championship. You didn't ever want to finish on a bye because you didn't have the opportunity to compete in the last moment, knowing what it was going to take to win. So I think in that respect, we are very excited to have that opportunity to finish on beam, which is an event that we've continued to build in our confidence and our momentum. And so we're looking forward to really take control of what that looks like in the final moments of a championship.
And since it is in New Orleans, it's pretty close to Tuscaloosa. Are you expecting a big turnout from the fans? What's that environment like since you did compete in that with the fans right there?
We are so excited to compete in New Orleans. We are expecting a pretty good fan base to drive over and to cheer us on. I know there is a bus that's going from Tuscaloosa down there, and so we're hoping to draw as many fans, students, supporters as we can to help cheer us on.
You just said y'all are going to finish on beam as the 4 seed. What is y'all's rotation order, and then kind of how do you feel like that lines up well with what your team does?
So we will start on floor and then rotate to vault, to bars, and then finish on beam. I think it's a great rotation for us. It brings back special memories for me as the second national championship we won went in that same rotation order in 2012. So I love that rotation. I think it's great for our team starting on floor. This team is a great performing team, and so being able to start there and really kind of settle into the groove will be valuable. We started this competition season in that same rotation at Vegas, and again, that was a great meet for us, so they'll be able to lean on that experience as well. Overall, I think we could handle any rotation, but this one I think the girls are excited about.
All right. Any closing comments you want to add before we wrap it up?
No, roll Tide.